Hello and good afternoon. Welcome to another TMDSAS office hour session for the month of October. My name is Suleima and I am the TMDSAS Support Coordinator. And I know it's been a while since we last had an office hour session. I hope no one missed me too much, but we're back and I'm excited to be with you guys. We are getting to the end of this journey when it comes to application deadlines. We recently had our veterinary application deadline on September 18th, and soon we will be having the dental and medical TMDSAS applications due on November 1st at 5 p.m. Central Time. So that deadline is quickly approaching. So I hope no one gets scared out, but that is coming y'all's way. So if you are still working on your application, we are here to help you out and answer any questions you guys have about completing the application. It's I know it can be a scary process, but you do have a network of people that are here to support y'all, whether it's your family, friends, relatives, your pre-health advisor at your institution, and of course you have the TMDSA support team. So we'll go ahead and get started. I just wanted to point out, since we are talking about application deadline, I do want you guys to be aware that we do have a page on our website, and it lists all the deadlines and important dates that are relevant for each of our applicant types. So whether you're a dental, medical, podiatry, or a veterinary applicant, these deadlines are important for you. So I'm going to go ahead and link the page below. Okay, and for those of you who have joined us in the past, you know that you can always ask your questions at any point. I will do my best to go through every single one of them, even if that takes me the full hour. But yeah, go ahead and list your question in the chat. If you are new, welcome. You can, of course, ask away in the chat, whether you're joining us from YouTube or Facebook. So, in the chat below, I have linked to the page called Team DSAS Deadlines for EY 2024. This is very important for you guys. Again, if you're a dental medical applicant, your next deadline that you should be paying attention to is November 1st at 5 p.m. Central Time. That is the last day that you can submit an application to be considered for entry year 2024 at a dental or medical school for Team DSAS. You have other deadlines to also be mindful, and as well as it tells you when the schools will be extending out offers, interviews, etc. But your most important date right now would be November 1st if you haven't completed your application just yet. And we typically get a lot of questions about, um, when is it the absolute last minute that I can submit my application? Will my application be considered? When is it too late for me to submit my application? And the simple question to that is your absolute last day is November 1st. So if you have any questions about what the what it means to apply early, what does that mean? We do have a video on our YouTube channel that talks a little bit more about explaining what that process looks like. So I always like to link this in the chat as well. Um, it is geared specifically for medical applicants, but this type of visual is very helpful as well if you're a dental, podiatry, or a veterinary applicant, just to see kind of what it looks like whenever you submit your application, the processing time that it takes for Team DSAS or the staff here at our office to process your application and get it sent out to the schools, and what that looks like for your interview timeline. So I'll go ahead and link it in the chat below. And because we are talking about completing the application, in case you're unaware, we do have a resource. It's called our TMDSAS Application Guide. And this guide will walk you step by step of every section that we have on the application. It's definitely useful to use as you are completing your application section by section. Each section in our application guide mirrors what's in the section that you will be completing on your application, and it has useful tips, things to look out for, um, things that we notice that can be giving you error messages, or things to avoid any processing delays that could occur after you submit your application. So it's definitely handy to use it as you are working on your application. So I'm going to go ahead and link that as well. Once you get to the application guide, all of the sections of your application will be reflected on the left-hand side panel. It'll have information about select schools, personal information, activities, coursework, essays, letters of evaluation, test scores, the payment information, and of course, what to do after submitting. So those are going to be your next steps. Once you finally submit your application, there are things that you still need to look out for to make sure that you are still keeping in touch with Team DSCS. You are on track to submitting things such as your transcripts, updating your grades, which is very helpful and needed for the schools to know where you're at in your academic journey, and just keeping them updated. I did want to let everyone know that whenever you submit an application, we process it, it gets sent to the schools. At that point, the schools have your application. So anytime that you make any changes on the TMDSAS side in your portal, that is readily available for the schools to see on their end. They'll be able to download this new information. Some schools will download this overnight, weekly, just depends on the school's end, and what their process looks like for downloading that new information. But as soon as you enter your, maybe you are retaking your MCAT, and so you'll updated the test date that you will be taking that, or you have a new course change or grade that you entered. All of that information is readily available for the schools to review and download on their end. So don't freak out. There's no such thing as having to resubmit. You don't need to let the schools know. They will see that because in their system, the system will flag when there's a new update on your application. So they'll be able to see if there's new things on your application that have been updated. And I know a lot of our applicants are on different sections of this journey. So for some, they've already have submitted a while back. Some of our applicants have already been going to interviews. Some have recently just been invited. So because I did mention the next steps after submitting, and we don't want you guys to miss out on important things to look out for, such as your PCR, I will also link that in the chat below for easy access. This page will contain information on how to continue that communication with TMDSAS. So we have information about where you can get in contact with us. It is very important that as a current applicant, you send us any inquiries, questions, or updates or changes via your TMDSAS application portal. The reason for that is because anytime you send a message, it is connected to your application. So it gives our team an faster way for us to take a look at your application and help you out with anything that you need. The response rates for those are about 2 business days. Sometimes it can be longer around the deadline dates, but right now we don't have to worry about that until November 1st. And that just gives us enough time to be able to address your questions. Be mindful that we do have about every year close to 9,000 applicants. So we do have a lot of inquiries to get to. So that is why it's going to take about 2 business days to get back to you, but we will. And then in that page as well, we have information about processing, what that looks like. processing for your application, letters of evaluation, your test scores, and a special note about transcripts. Where to locate that information is also available there. We have an image that shows you where you can find this in your portal. Earlier, I mentioned the PCR. The PCR is the uh, prerequisite coursework report, and this will be important for you to be on the lookout once your application has already been transmitted to the schools. The reason for that is because this report has information about which courses you took will meet the prerequisites for English, statistics, chemistry, biology, etc. It is important to take a look at that because it does let you know if you have any deficiencies in your prerequisite areas. Don't freak out, don't panic. Yes, the schools do see this. They do have access to this report just as well as you are. However, this is not grounds for throwing away an application. They will not reject you based on seeing that you have a deficiency in this report. It's just simply for you to know that there is a prerequisite area that you have not fully completed just yet, and it's really important to take a look at that early on so that way you don't get surprised once you are about to matriculate and you need to register for your classes in medical or dental school, podiatry, or vet school, and you cannot because you're deficient. So the faster you take a look at that report, the much better or less stress you will have once you are beginning to get into the enrollment process at your school. And deficiencies are pretty normal. A lot of our applicants are traditional applicants, applying through the traditional route, meaning applying at the end of their junior year, going into their senior year. So it's very, very common for the schools to see deficiencies because a lot of those applicants have not yet completed all of their required coursework. So don't panic, don't freak out. It'll be okay. We do have we do have information about that in the after submitting page. If you have any questions specifically about your PCR, you can always send us a message in your TMDSAS application portal. Going back to the after submitting page, we do have information about secondaries, what schools require it. The only information we have is about what schools require a secondary application, the cost of the application, and how you will be contacted to be able to fill that secondary application. TMDSAS does not manage the secondary applications or the portals, and so therefore, if you have any specific questions about the portal, what you're seeing on their end, it's best to contact the school directly since they are the ones managing that portal. We have information about Casper, again, limited information, but it lets you know what schools will require it, and information about making changes after submitting. There are certain sections that you cannot make changes to. At the top of my head, I know essays and activities cannot be changed once you submit your application. And we also have our frequently asked questions. So it's our library of all sorts of questions covering a range of topics that are most likely to come up after submitting an application. So I know I've done a lot of talking. Let me know if you need anything for me to clarify. And of course, if you have any questions yourself about completing your application, or anything else, just let me know. Go ahead and drop your question in the chat. And like I said, I'll be here as long as I need to be able to address everyone's questions. Um, Typically here between 30 minutes to about an hour. So don't hesitate. Don't be afraid. We're just here to support you. All right. And another thing I wanted to bring up is what our team has noticed with our current applicants is um, questions, concerns when it comes to deficiencies from courses taken at a community college due to dual enrollment or dual credit. So I did want to point out that that can often be an area where a lot of our applicants enter the information of courses for dual credit as they are listed on your main institution transcript. However, that is the incorrect way to enter those because on your main institution, that coursework will be listed as transfer. So yes, it'll have the transfer credit from that course that is equivalent to your course at your main institution, but that can lead to deficiencies down the line. So I've seen a couple of our applicants asking why they have deficiencies. They took these courses at their community college, so there shouldn't be a reason for having a deficiency in that area. However, the mistake there was entering the courses as they appear on the main institution transcript rather than in the community college transcript. So if you are currently thinking, wow, I think maybe I did list my courses incorrectly, or you know what, I did take dual credit courses. Let me just double check to make sure everything is listed accurately on my application. You can always review the dual credit information that we have, how to enter those into your application, and I'll link it down below. And I know the advice that TMDSAS provides for you all is to list everything that you see on your transcript. So it makes sense that a lot of our applicants see or obtain their main institution transcript and see those courses on the transcript. However, your main institution did not provide you that credit initially. It was first granted by your community college. You took the course through them, and then you were able to transfer that into your main institution, um, which they accepted that transfer credit. So whenever you enter your courses, you always have to list the courses where your school granted you the credit. So that's why I can totally understand the confusion with dual credit courses. But the best way and the accurate way to enter those is by entering them based on how they show up on your community college transcript. So just be mindful of that. If you know anyone who's currently completing an application, or if you yourself already entered your dual credit courses, I think it would be a good idea to just double check that those are entered correctly, and that you don't have any deficiencies in your PCR. Alrighty, so I see we have a brave soul right here who just asked a question. This is from Stacy Dental. Good afternoon. The deadline for the DAT is December 1st. What is the latest date I could take it so that it will meet the deadline? Thank you very much. Yeah, of course. Let's go back to the deadline page. Let's see. So for dental applicants, we have, okay, so we don't have that on our deadlines page, but we do have it in the test score page. So let me get to that. Okay, so I'll go ahead and link the test score page. So everyone who is watching, who's interested in um, knowing about the DAT information, I'll list it so you can follow along. Okay, so for the DAT must be taken for the first time before December of the application year in order to be considered for the current application cycle. So what that means is that, let's see, the deadline, yes, December 1st is ideally the latest you want to take your DAT to be considered for EY 2024. And the reason for that is because as of December 15th, and let me make sure that I get that right. And this is, let's see, yes, this is on the deadlines page. So you definitely want to make sure that you get your DAT. You take it no later than December 1st. The reason for that is because by December 15th, the dental schools begin to extend offers of acceptance. So You ideally want to make sure that you take it by no later than December 1st, so that way you have time to get the scores sent into the schools. I believe the ADA can take anywhere between, I think, up to 6 weeks to deliver test scores. So the schools, you do want to make sure that the schools have your test scores because the schools do need to have those to be able to consider you for an offer of acceptance. So the longer you wait to take it, to have that score sent in, the shorter your window of opportunity to get an offer shortens. So you want to make sure that you get that in as soon as possible. That way you're considered for that first batch of application acceptance offers that go out starting December 15th. And that way you guys can be like on track and have plenty of time to hear back from the schools. And Stacy, let me know if I addressed your question. If you need me to clarify anything, let me know. All right, that was a great question. If anyone else has another question, whether you're a dental, medical, podiatry, or even a vet applicant, just let us know what kind of question you need us to address. I'll be happy to take a look at that and be able to provide some guidance. All right, and I did want to point out, just from looking at our deadlines page, the letters of evaluation for dental and medical applicants are not due the same day that your application is due. You still have about 2 weeks to get that submitted after the application deadline. So just a reminder, the application deadline is November 1st. The deadline for your letters of evaluation is November 15th, so about 2 weeks. And after that, if you still send in your letters, TMDSAS will still accept it. Now, it will be up to the schools to decide if they still want to accept your letters after that date. The schools want to make sure that your letters get submitted by November 15th. We will still be able to update this section if you need us to. We will still accept letters that come in afterwards, but it is up to the discretion of the schools if they choose to accept them. Some of the schools will not extend an interview offer until all letters of evaluation and test scores have been received. Um, so, kind of touching back on the DAT question, that's why it's crucial that you plan out when to take the DAT, MCAT, make sure you have plenty of time to study for it, but also give yourself give yourself time to be able to receive the scores so the schools can receive them, have them ready in your application, and have those two things to be able to extend an offer to you. Alrighty, so I don't see any other questions, but if you do, go ahead and list those in the chat. Again, we'll be here for about 30 minutes, so close to 1:30 or longer if we need to. But yeah, just let us know. We have a couple of weeks left before the application deadline, which is again on Wednesday, November 1st. So we're looking at about 3 weeks. 3 weeks can go by really fast, and we want to make sure that you have all the tools and resources and answers to your questions so that you can submit your application definitely before the deadline. Okay, I see a question from Rosny 2002. I am planning to apply for medical school next cycle. How early can I start the application in order to get ahead of things? Great question. So it's awesome that you're already here, looking to get started or planning ahead as you prepare for the next application cycle for EY25. Super exciting. I recommend that you could do this where you can go in onto TMDSAS, create an account, take a look at our application, the sections that are in there, take a look at the application guide. This is all to kind of give you an idea of how you can prepare, what to expect, what the format of it looks like. That way, whenever May 1st of next year comes around, you are already familiar with the format, the questions that are being asked, and the resources available to you to complete your application. We actually do have an article, and I will link it below. and it has kind of like a checklist. So it has the step-by-step things that you should look out for. Start gathering now, so that way you're prepared for the new application cycle when it becomes available. So I will go ahead and link that in the chat. And these are 9 things that you can start doing before May 1st. So I hope this is helpful. Okay, so my recommendation is create an account with TMDSAS just so you can take a look at what the application looks like. Review the application guide, which is also linked below in the chat. Again, this is information for you to kind of know what's coming up on the application, how to prepare, review what you will need, resources, etc. Also, take a look at this article. It has 9 things that you can start looking at now, gathering, working on before May 1st, before the application even opens. So, if you do decide to create an account with TMDSAS now, just know that um, believe after March, because that is the deadline for our podiatry school application. After that time period, um, that application that you create will be closed and you will not be able to access it. But just anything that you enter in now, let's say that you decide to enter in the courses that you've taken in the past, that information gets rolled over into the new application for EY 2025 that becomes available beginning on May 1st, I believe. Let me just double check. It's usually the first Monday of May at 8 a.m. Central Time. So you can create the application now, but just know that whatever you enter will roll over for the next cycle if you are planning on applying for next cycle. But yeah, and then always just be on the lookout for notifications from our YouTube channel that we have office hours available. Our office hours are meant to be offered during the application season, so from May through November. And it's another resource for you to be able to jump in on here and ask questions. Alrighty, guys. Well, if there are no further questions, I will let y'all go so you guys can enjoy the rest of y'all's afternoon. I know this is approximately the time that we have midterms for a lot of y'all who are in school. Midterms are coming up, projects, etc., as well as preparing for DAT or the MCAT, etc. So I hope that even in all the stress and all these things that you need to do during this midpoint in your semester, I hope you are able to find some time to get some rest, recharge your social battery, um, and yeah, just relax. Alrighty. I'll see you guys next time. Remember, our next office hour is next Tuesday on the 17th, and we'll be here same time, same place. Alrighty, y'all. Thank y'all. Have a great afternoon.